All right, welcome everybody to another
I don't
exciting.
understand why it goes scheduled and then it goes right to 2 minutes and 53 seconds immediately. What's that about?
I don't know because I don't see that on my end.
I,
Um,
I, I, I'm ADD, so
well, no, I mean, but I that's what I do not see that. What I end up seeing.
basically, if we go over 2 minutes, we haven't gone over.
Okay, okay then.
Deductive reasoning. I've been watching
I
CSI.
like I said, I've got like a master screen here that I see this, and I see the two pictures at the bottom, and it tells me how I can do the layout, and I see the comments on this side of the screen. Um, but other than that, I don't see anything else. So I got a little clock right here up at the top. Hey, Calvin. Calvin changed his name again. Now he's Calvin 14. I see him. I see that. I see him
Well, I
looking
guess
at
in
the
Atlanta,
time.
you got to change your identification periodically.
um, but
Or
I
or
don't
maybe
see.
that's just because he's from Columbia. Because there's some shady folks come from Columbia. I
Oh,
love Calvin to death, but
that's a
Cal-
That's a North
Caldwell
Louisiana issue.
Caldwell Parish is still Caldwell Parish.
I hear you. I hear you. All right. As I was saying before, welcome to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. And here we are, 2020 season. Week 1 is here. Uh, Probably the oddest season I can ever remember coming into because we've had no preseason. We've had no practice football, warm up football to get us like expecting that. I'll just share this. Uh, but yeah, Sean's dying now. Sean's
Try
not. Hey,
Franklin Parish.
yeah,
Try Franklin Parish.
hey, Chad. But yeah, it's we've had no practice football, so you don't feel like football's going on. And for those of you who said, I hate preseason, I wish it didn't have preseason. How do you feel right now? I kind of wish we would have had preseason because
Yeah.
we're going to talk about this upcoming roster. And we're going to talk about this game coming up with Tampa Bay, which is a divisional game. It's a critical game to
Yes.
win this division.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be the Looney Tunes meets the Marx Brothers with the Three Stooges officiating because it's going to be a clown show. Simply because my mom's from Franklin Parish.
I'm sorry,
um,
brother.
we down here we just call them Chalmatians. If you're from Chalmette, you're a Chalmatian.
I've been to Chalmette one time
I'm
in my
sorry.
life. When I came down for WrestleMania 30, that was actually the WrestleMania show was on Sunday night, obviously. Well, on Friday, they had a Mid South Legends reunion that I had platinum. Thanks to my sister, I had platinum VIP passes to, and it was held at, I want to say, the Civic Center in Chalmette.
Oh
Uh,
God. Yeah. There's they had the Civic Center, and then I think it was Homa had the Cultural Civic Center.
yeah,
Which, if they had a Cultural Civic Center in Chalmette, I would have said that's an oxymoron because
the people of Chalmette, what little exposure that I had of them, they were very gracious and very kind, and they were.
I've got a friend. I love her to death. She's from Chalmette, and she knows all the Chalmatian jokes. But I kid you not, I went to a. My dad used to have a camp before Katrina. He had a camp out on the other side of Venetian Isles, which is before you get to the Wrigley's, heading out in St. Bernard Parish, going towards Mississippi. Okay, you go down Chef Mentor Highway and you go out in that area that way. Okay.
You're speaking a foreign language to me.
I know. But the people who are from New Orleans will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, he had this camp out there. Well, to get out there, you go through Chalmette. And it was going to be a guys' weekend. We were just going to hang out there, cut up on the boat, bring the jet skis, play around out there. So we on our way there, I said, we got to go stop and get groceries, but never go to the grocery store hungry. So
Yeah.
always get something to eat. So we stop at a Wendy's in Chalmette. There was about 10 people in there, not including us. A couple, one lady had a baby and stuff, and then, about 4 or 5 people behind the counter. Combined, there were 24 teeth. Combined of all those people, you had one full set of teeth.
Oh my God, he didn't go there.
I just walked over like, doggy. And you pull up in a nice SUV. They go, uh-oh, the feds are here. So yeah, it was.
You look across the restaurant at somebody and say, the last time I saw ears like that, they were attached to bib overalls and a banjo.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
That's what Robin Williams said. That's what Robin Williams said about Prince Charles. He said, "Man, is it just me, or is it the last time that you saw ears like that? They were playing a banjo."
So yeah, that was my trip to Chalmette. Now, granted, like I said, I have a lot of friends that live in that area, and they make fun of their own area too. And they, just like you make fun of the West Bank, you make fun of all kinds of areas. Okay. And one other guy that I knew from Chalmette, he would always call it God's country, GAWD, God's country. So, that's just how they are. So, and
let me pay the bills real quick.
Yes, pay the bills, then we can pick up where I left off on that stuff.
I apologize for interrupting. Thank you guys for joining us on Under the Dome. As always, we love you guys. We appreciate you being a part of what we do, because without you, there is no us. You can follow us on Facebook at Under the Dome Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter by the handles that you see below our majestic faces.
Wow.
Yeah, I said that with a straight face. I've been practicing that. But with that, can you believe that the next time that I do that sales pitch that I just did, the Saints will either be 1-0 or 0-1?
I know.
Well, after this tumultuous all season, it's hard to believe that it's upon us now.
Well, and that was the thing I was going to get across here, was that, a lot of people said they hate preseason, wish they didn't have preseason and stuff like that. But as a fan, you kind of get conditioned to that. You want to have that fake football, at least so you get that taste of football, and you kind of get that feeling that, okay, I enjoy watching the game. And Avery brought up a point saying that, he thinks, because, and I agree with him on this regard, because of all the changes Tampa has had with their roster compared to the Saints, and we're going to talk about the Saints' final roster in a few minutes, but compared to that the Saints have an advantage, because even though Emmanuel Sanders is a new person, you've got Michael Thomas who knows the offense. You've got Davin, you got Alvin Kamara who knows the offense. You've got Cook who knows the offense. You've got enough pieces in there that you're not putting a new quarterback, a new tight end, new cornerbacks, all these different pieces into place that don't know the system that Tampa is doing. So there's a way, a very good way you can take advantage of the lack of time these guys have had together in a game-like situation.
Yes, I agree with that to a point. Now, where I fall off from that is having an experienced and talented coach like Bruce Arians leading this team. He's going to have them ready to play. Make no mistake about that. Now, basically, scrapping everything that you had last year and building from the ground up with no real, quote unquote, real practices at your disposal, or
Mhm.
at least limited practices given the circumstances and the situation that presents itself. It's going to be who took advantage of the time that they had the most, who is willing to gamble the most, high risk, high reward type thing. And then there very likely could be the circumstance where you just go out there and you treat this like a preseason game, and whatever happens happens. You try to play to win, obviously, but at the same time, it's going to take a week or two of all these players getting their feet wet, getting those game reps back down. So really and truly, to be honest with you, I'm kind of scared as to what to anticipate or expect from what's coming up. I really am.
Avery just sent me a hilarious picture. I'll send it to you later. I can't send pictures across this thing, so it's hilarious. So, okay, so yeah, and I agree with all that. Here's the number one thing I think we're going to take away, and I said this, at the outset of the show. I don't want people to hit the panic button if this game.
But they will.
I know, but it is going to look sloppy. Be prepared for that. If it's not, that's great. But because we don't have two-a-days every day and they don't tackle anymore, they just wrap up and hold on. We have seen, even with training camp, the OTAs and preseason, those first couple of games out of the box, you think about the just last year with the game against the Texans and then the Rams game the following week. The Saints, it took the Saints a couple of games to kind of get their feet under them and get used to playing four quarters and get used to tackling people. And
then you compound that by the fact that in week 2, you lose your future Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yep.
And you've got to completely readjust everything all over again.
Exactly. So Mike Detillier used to say this all the time, and I think he's right. You really don't see until in a normal season, until week 4, which teams are really the real deal and which ones kind of, are going to start falling by the wayside. And I think you probably are going to see this now closer to week 6, because I think the first 2 weeks of the season for all 32 teams are going to be very much like preseason kind of games.
Yeah.
Where you're going to see one or two good drives, but you're going to see things you're like, what the hell am I watching? These are professionals. That my high school teams I'm watching play cleaner football than this. I mean, just stupid penalties, face mask, just horrible tackling where they just kind of wrap up and then let them go. That kind of stuff.
The teams that come out of the blocks the fastest and can, I don't know what word to use here. The teams that can, I don't want to say adapt, but the teams that can hit their stride the quickest and make the least amount of mistakes and get into that season mode the quickest are the ones that are going to have the marked advantage going through the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because, like you said, we're looking at quite logically maybe week 5, week 6 before we see the crisp going through and doing things the way that they're supposed to be done.
Well, yeah, you start seeing much much better execution. And he's Avery says Clay Bet Live has the Saints losing Sunday but winning the Super Bowl. He could see that. If we're playing in Tampa,
Clay Travis needs an enema.
Well, I think I agree with him if we were playing Tampa that first week in Tampa. Playing in the dome, even without people, you don't
Well,
lose
see,
that bit of travel.
that's going to be the big equalizer, though. You just as well be playing in a parking lot in Walmart in Chalmette than playing in the Superdome without fans.
Danny, we started 0-2 in 2017 and 1-1 in 2018 and 1-1 in 2019.
What's your point?
We have a terrible open day record. His franchise,
Yes, yeah.
franchise wide, we have a terrible opening day record, and it got better under Peyton from 2009 to 2013.
I can still remember the last opening, not counting last year. We played Houston opening week last year, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Before that, the last time that we won on opening day was against the Atlanta Falcons when Kenny Vaccaro picked Napoleon Dynamite off in the end zone.
Yeah. Yeah. We went, 2013 was the last time we won on opening day until the Houston game last year. The last time we won on an opening Sunday. Because we started 1-1 in 2018 because we barely beat Cleveland and got our butt kicked by Tampa in 2018. That was the Fitzmagic game. And then in 2017, we lost to Minnesota in the new stadium, and we lost to
that was the Adrian Peterson game.
Yeah, and we lost to Tampa. Well, not just Adrian Peterson. That was we're going to expose how bad the cornerbacks are, and that was that game, 2017. PJ Williams got burned, and so did I think
that.
Yeah, I think Ken Crawley wasn't even active in that game, and
we had some injuries. I want to say going into
Marshawn Lattimore. We lost. He was just starting. He got beat a couple of times, but he was just starting to become. That was his first ever game.
Yeah.
But Crawley wasn't even active yet, Calvin. Let's see. My brother's got it. Yeah. 07, 08, 14 and 15. Yeah. Yep. And 2012, but we can excuse 20. I don't count 2012.
2012 was not an official season for the New Orleans Saints. And the NFL record keepers, I've got two words for you.
It's you can't really count anything because that season you don't have your head coach, you don't have your general manager, you're missing your your linebackers coach, you're supposed to be your interim head coach. That whole season was just chaos. So
yeah,
the other corner,
and chaos is a kinder word than I would have used.
Yeah, it was PJ and I can't think of who the other corner was. He was the other undrafted free agent that we had.
Bro.
No, one bro. It was.
Are you sure?
Yeah, positive. It was because Bro was hurt again. That's when the doctor scandal came out. I cannot remember who the other. It's another undrafted free agent who was gone. Yeah, I got three words for him, Calvin. Yeah, it might be Harris. That might be who it is. It was a guy named Harris. Let me see. I'm gonna pull up this roster.
Yeah, look it up. And while you do that, my expectation for this game Sunday is I'm really looking forward to it. I can understand those people that absolutely despise preseason football, but after 6 months of nothing, preseason football kind of whets your appetite and gives you an opportunity to see what could possibly be the future of your franchise.
Yeah, it was Devontae Harris. That was the guy. It was because they had Devontae Harrison, and then he got beat, so they put in PJ. After that, it was Devontae Harris. That's the guy who was getting his butt handed to him.
Yeah, Devontae Harris come off the field and said, "Man, I can't believe they're booing me." And PJ Williams said, "Hold my beer and watch this."
Yeah, because he got the start. That's the only game he started all season. So yeah, because Marshawn Lattimore started on the other side, and yeah, Devontae Harris had to start. Ken Crawley wasn't even active for that game.
He was hurt.
No, they just made him inactive.
No, he was hurt coming out of training camp.
Okay,
and he never caught his stride after that.
And I think Sterling Moore was still on the team back then too. But yeah,
no, Sterling Moore we picked up a few games into the season.
Okay,
Sterling Moore and one other guy, I can't remember his name.
Listen to these cornerbacks. Yeah, Ken Crawley, Devontae Harris, Marshawn Lattimore, Arthur Millette, Dexter McDougal, who I don't even remember him being on the team, Sterling Moore, and PJ Williams. That was your cornerbacks that year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then there was one more that we picked up maybe halfway through the season. I can't remember his name, but he actually played very well given the circumstances. And for the life of me, I can't remember his name.
In 20s, yeah. But okay. So anyway, hang on here. Let me try one more thing. I wanted to talk about since we're talking about the upcoming game. They had to cut down on Saturday, and like I said from the outset, I did not expect much change from last year's roster and this year's roster. And I was pretty much correct. I mean, your starting lineup is almost, except for a couple of names, is pretty much the same lineup you finished the season with in January. Okay.
Yeah.
Clearly, Alex Anzalone was injured, so he wasn't on the roster. But he wasn't playing, but he was on the roster. The big surprises, I think, on this. What? Oh,
I'm looking at the picture you sent me.
Oh. No, it wasn't BW Webb and more. I'm sorry.
BW Webb. That was the guy I was trying to think of.
That was in 2016 and 2015. Yeah, because that's when we had the plague hitting the secondary all the time. Okay, hang on. I got to catch up on some of these things here.
Sunday Night Football just ran. Saints only commercial. Are you ready? Saints football night in America. Well,
I haven't seen it before either.
If that's not the kiss of death, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Really, they're buttering up to their new commentator that's coming in the booth next year.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm all caught up. All right. So anyway, I was saying that, given the roster and given the no off season and stuff like that, I expected pretty much the same roster that we saw at the end of the 2019 season, and pretty much right. The only surprise is I think Marquez Callaway made the roster as a wide receiver, undrafted free agent, and Bernie Fowler, the one that everyone thought was coming in because Drew wanted to bring him in and all these other things. He ended up not making the roster, ended up making the practice squad. And for the rest of the pieces, we've got Cesar Ruiz, who is now going to start at guard in place of the departed Larry Warford. We have a different fullback. Michael Burton's playing in place of the retired Zach Line. And we have, instead of AJ Klein at the strong side linebacker position for this week, it looks like it's going to be Caden Ellis, because Kiko Alonso tore his ACL, as we all know, in the Vikings game in January. He's on the physically unable to perform list. The Steelers linebacker did not make it. Nigel Bradham got cut at the beginning of the camp. So, it's kind of like people were going, is Barn going to start already? Or are they going to put Craig Robertson in there? Or what are they going to? And they have Caden Ellis, the guy who got injured last preseason, going into the starting strong side linebacker spot, along with Anzalone at middle linebacker and Davis at the weak side. And Mario Edwards did not make the team, which I didn't think he was going to anyway. Ganderson and Malcolm Roach, who was an undrafted free agent, they made the roster instead. And I looked at it as purely as a financial move, not as a Ganderson and Roach are so much better than Edwards. It's just that, are you really getting a whole heck of a lot more with Edwards in, or can you play these guys with cheap contracts and get almost the same amount of production? And I think that's how they made that decision.
Well, you're looking at as we've alluded to many, many times on this show, you're looking at a very, very crowded defensive line unit. You've got Cam, you've got Rankins, you've got what's his name?
Davenport.
You've got all these guys, and they're all going to be competing for reps. You really you're not in a position where necessity deems that you break the bank to keep a guy like Mario Edwards. Now, while his contributions last year were great, he's not Cam Jordan. He's not that game breaker. So you're not going to break the bank to pay him. So I agree completely with what you said about it being a financial decision.
So I guess my question for you then is, given that, I agree with that, Calvin. Roach is a must-watch rookie this year because, like Shy Tuttle, the last year, I think they see something in this guy. I think they see something like they saw something in Stallworth 2 years ago, which you saw it last year with Tuttle. So I think Roach is a guy to watch.
That one stiff arm should have gotten him a lifetime contract. You're a Saint regardless from now on.
Especially because of the German commentary. I mean, when you break out in a giggle and you say, "Oh, that Ryan stiff arm," but my question to you is, what happened this past week? Given that we let Mario Edwards go, we look like we're going to go with Ganderson and Hendrickson as the backup pass rush defensive ends. How do you feel about the Saints going after Jadeveon Clowney the way they did this past week?
To be totally honest, I don't think that the Saints were ever in the running for Jadeveon Clowney.
Really?
I really don't. Clowney didn't. He may have paid lip service to it, but if Clowney wanted to be a Saint, he would have been a Saint. I think he played New Orleans just to up the ante with the Titans, because eventually it came down to a choice between the Titans or the Saints. As a member, you got to the testosterone in the room, brother.
Okay.
Jadeveon Clowney is staring down the barrel at the end of his career that started out so promising, and he's gone from this team to this team to this team. And as long as he's in New Orleans, he's just going to be another player. He's never going to be – Jadeveon Clowney is not going to be Cam Jordan, which is what he wants to be.
Well, he wants to get
Uh,
paid like he is a Cam Jordan, and he's not.
yeah. Well, the getting paid is part of it, but it's the I don't even know what word to use. It's that thing where the team looks at you and says, "Okay, man, we need to stop. It's on you." You're not going to be that in New Orleans, and he has to know that.
Well, it was a 10-year. I mean, it was a $10 million rental. That's what you were basically doing with him, because he's a mercenary. He's no different than what we went through with Sue. Okay, Sue goes to whatever team's going to pay him, and he likes to play off teams that are in competition for Super Bowl titles, because those are the teams that he doesn't have to be the star, but he can pretend like he's going to be. They're going to be on national TV a lot, and he's a player that turns it on when the nation is watching. Okay? So
like a Marshawn Lattimore.
Well, yeah, except he's a mercenary to do that. Lattimore at least is acknowledging that, and Lattimore is trying to, become a better player. Clowney is one of these guys. Well, I think he will be this year. I really do. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think he took the criticisms to heart and is going to try and be an elite shutdown corner every week, not just for the big games. But Clowney's one of these guys who that's when he wants to make all his sacks, because that's what everyone sees. And that becomes a highlight. It's a nationally televised game. Excuse me. So that's the game that everyone's going to be watching, as opposed to a regional telecast. If you're playing for, I don't know, the Detroit Lions or the Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Giants, the Cleveland Browns, you're a regionally televised game for the most part. And the interesting thing that I saw after the game, after he had made his decision and went to Tennessee, was a story that came out where the Saints were essentially going to try and get Clowney the money he's looking for, but do it through a sign and trade with another team. Did you hear this story?
Yes, a sign and trade with Cleveland. If I'm
they said now it's Baltimore. That it was Baltimore. That was the team they were going to do it with. At least that's what NFL Network is reporting. I'd heard originally it was Cleveland too. Cleveland makes more sense because Cleveland's got a lot more salary cap. Essentially, Cleveland was going to sign him for $15 million, which was the money he was looking for.
Yeah.
And the Saints were going to trade their second-round pick next year's draft to Cleveland or Baltimore and pick up Clowney and get Clowney in exchange, and it would cost the Saints $10 million of cap room. Cleveland essentially Baltimore would essentially get $5 million for a second-round pick. And that was the way this deal was supposed to work. And the league shut it down. Said, no. You can't sell your pick for $5 million to circumvent the cap. Because whenever you trade a player, how the language, and the Saints were going to write the language for this deal, how you were going to pay this player when you trade a player. And this is what happened when the Saints traded Jimmy Graham. You end up eating a percentage of the contract, whatever the guaranteed money was. Okay, that's the money the player gets. That's not determined. That doesn't determine your cap. That's just like if you pay a guy $100 million contract, or let's just take the big one, the contract that Patrick Mahomes signed, a $500 million contract. Okay. If the contract says, you know what, you're going to get paid $33 million guaranteed, a team can pay a guy $20 to $33 million right up front and go, boom, here's your money, and then take that cap hit and just spread it out over the life of the contract. Okay, that's what Mickey Loomis has done for years.
Yeah.
When you trade a player, Suddenly now all that money is pushed forward into your contract, your cap year. So that's why the Saints had the big cap hit when they traded Jimmy Graham away in 2014 or 2015. Sorry. Now that comes off the books the following year. The Saints were going to structure this deal, so only $5 million were going to end up actually impacting the Cleveland or Baltimore cap for this season, but they would get a second round pick to eat that percentage. The player would still get his money, but it would only cost $10 million to the Saints. And that was how they were going to work around the figure so they could outbid Tennessee, and the league shut it down. And I'm actually thankful because I don't think a second round pick was worth a 1 year rental.
No, by no means. If we didn't have a Cam Jordan, situation might be completely different. You've got that. So you're looking, and a lot of people have taken issue with my classification of this, but you're looking at Jadeveon Clowney as basically just a rotational player.
Right.
And how are you going to justify spending $10 million on a player that may take half the defensive snaps? Maybe.
Well, and that
it's not sound business.
Well, I think the way they're looking at it in the Saints defense, as Calvin said, it was a luxury. They wanted to get a better rotation on a defensive line. And since Marcus Davenport has gotten hurt the past couple of seasons, if Marcus Davenport gets hurt again at the end of the season like he did last year, you've got a guy in Clowney coming in to pick up whatever we have left in the postseason. Okay. And you can play Davenport and then rotate Clowney in. That way in the fourth quarter, you still have elite pass rushers playing against a more tired offensive line late in the game. That's the thinking. That's why you want to get it. And I totally agree, Calvin. I think Clowney is overrated as a pass rusher because, like I said, he's done
nothing.
Well,
he's done absolutely nothing to prove that he's an elite player, except go from team to team to team to team.
Well, he has those games, and last year against the 49ers, when the Seattle almost won that game, they were an inch away. Clowney did play for a half like an elite pass rusher. Okay. Clowney was unblockable in that first half. Problem was he didn't do it the whole damn game.
Well, so you can go back even further. When he was at South Carolina, can you remember one single play of his career aside from that Michigan game?
Oh, no. There isn't. There isn't anything.
There you go.
It's that Michigan game that everyone knows because we live in a media age, and that play gets shown over and over and over again. So they tend to think that's how he played every game. I totally get it. That's why I'm glad the deal fell through. I wasn't that excited about getting him in the first place.
I never was. I started this off by saying I never thought we were actually in the run. I don't see the necessity of courting a Clowney. And to my defense, if you remember, I never saw the necessity of courting a Ndamukong Suh either. I was relieved when we didn't get Suh. I was relieved when we didn't get Clowney. That's just money on the books for a nominal effort, possibly, maybe a few statistical marks in the ledger, but you're not that Ndamukong Suh then, Jadeveon Clowney now, that is not the player that's going to quantify whether we're playing for a Super Bowl or not. And at this point, that's what we're looking at. If this player means that it puts us over the top to win a Super Bowl, I'm all for that.
Well,
but if it's not, don't waste your time or your money.
Avery, I just left a message up here. Avery's right, and Kyle made the same comment. Kyle Mosley over there on Bayou Blitz. He thinks they didn't really want Clowney, but they wanted to send that message that the Saints will do whatever it takes to win a championship. And by going all out for a player that you probably weren't going to get, you create the impression to the rest of the players in the league and the rest of the agents and the fans that the Saints are committed to winning. They're not going to penny pinch. And what is it? How we started the show off talking about Tampa. Tampa is one of these teams like Cleveland the year before. They quote unquote won the offseason. They brought in all these players. It creates the hype and the illusion that this team is some kind of dream team, all-star, superstar team.
Just like the Rams the year prior.
Well, I was thinking more like the dream team the Eagles built that ended up not winning anything. Vince Young called it the dream team. The Cleveland Browns last year, everybody was already putting them in to a championship. So
I want to address Avery's comment before we move on.
You want to see Who Dat Nation official member? That's what's on my shirt. Chad wanted to know what's on my shirt.
Okay, Avery said that not making a move on Fournette made us look bad. No, I vehemently disagree because Fournette was the wrong player in the wrong system for this offense. Fournette is he's a thoroughbred. I'll take nothing away from him, but that's not what this offense is about. I don't think that Leonard Fournette would have ever fit into this offense. And pursuing him would have been a waste of money. I honestly believe that.
My attitude with Fournette, and we talked about this last week, I don't think he fits in with what this offense wants to do. Because he's a guy that needs.
Fournette is a throwback. Well, Fournette is a throwback to Chuck Foreman, Franco Harris, Tony Dorsett. He's a throwback to those offenses that were predominantly running back oriented. And that's what he was at LSU. And that's not what he's going to be in New Orleans. So that's a waste of time to me.
It's just, he's not going to get enough touches to be productive. And people are going to be angry that he's not getting enough touches and saying that Kamara should get fewer touches and that Saints should stop throwing the ball so much. That's the kind of stuff that would have happened if you bring in a Fournette here. Because they would have been looking at his stats. Because you just look at what they say about Latavius Murray. They say the same thing about Murray. He's not getting enough touches. He needs to run the ball more. Peyton needs to stop throwing the ball. So, I don't know if it was a fake pursuit, Avery, of Clowney, but I do think they had an interest in him if the price was right. I think it got to be.
My interpretation of the courting of Clowney was basically decided when I saw that they were wanting to get him just to trade him.
No, I don't know about that. For some of them they think that, Calvin.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know so much about that, but I think they were willing to pay a 1-year rental on Clowney if they could get him at a good price. I don't think they were willing to do what Clowney wanted them to do. They weren't just going to pay a mercenary price and say, hey, here's your money, because the Saints, that's not the kind of locker room they've got. They want a guy who wants to be here. And Clowney's one of these guys who wants to be wherever they're going to pay him. And that's where I think everything went. Money would have come up to this thing and said, you know what? I'm coming because I want a ring. I'm coming because I like what I see from the outside of what this locker room looks like. You guys like you're having fun. And you got a great quarterback. You've got a great offense. I could be part of this team, and I got a great shot at getting a championship. What do we have to do to get me on this team? And they work it from that point of view. But that's not how Clowney came to him. Clowney, I think, came to them saying, I'm a guy.
I want to get paid.
I'm looking to get paid. And I know you can't afford a long deal, but I want to get my money now because I can't play forever. So what are you going to pay me for my services? Wrong attitude to take. I'm not saying he said it that way, but that's the impression I got. So as long as that,
I mean, all these guys at the end of the day, the one tie that binds all these players together is at the end of the day, you've got to quantify your career. You've got to have that justification that what you did meant something. And for players in the NFL, it's all about that ring.
Yeah. Well, some play for the ring and some play for the cash. Sue plays for the cash. Clowney pays for the cash. There are players who play for the brand. You know, what they said this about basketball. You had to get the it's not a trifecta, that's not the word they use, but it's something like that. But basically it's, you know, you go to get three things, and one of them is a shoe contract or a shoe. You get that shoe made, but it's
you get that Gatorade commercial.
The Gatorade commercial. Yeah, I think they try and model themselves after Jordan, and they think, but you know, the reason why Jordan got all that stuff is because Jordan put it all out on the floor, and he was the most dominant player of his era. But
he did it on the playing field to begin with. And that's what people lose sight of. It's not about creating a brand. It's about creating a legacy.
I know, but because we live in a 24/7 sports world where you have highlights on all the time, it's not. It could be hat trick. I'm not sure what they call it, the trifecta or the hat trick, but it's these people come with the wrong vision of what sports are like now, and they want to get all the fame and fortune, then do the work. You know, it's like it doesn't work that way. You do the work, and then you get the fame and fortune. But it's
the typical millennial. It's the typical millennial state of mind. This is what I'm worth. You pay me that, and I'll show you what I can do. And people from our generation know that it's completely opposite of the way that we were raised. You go out there and you prove that you can do the job, and then you expect to get paid for it.
Well, you know, a lot of that's the. I don't want to say it's millennial because I don't want to just disparage an entire generation, but you know, there are people.
You have kids that are millennials. I don't.
Yes, you do. You have two of them. What are they? Your two little ones.
Disenfranchised.
I got you. But yeah, I mean, it's a screwed up priority system where they think that's how it works. That you get that fame and fortune just because you show up on the court. It's the things we talked about in so many times on this show, and I've run into it. I've talked to people about this. My daughter played basketball, high school basketball. She won a state championship. Okay. She happened to be she was a team player on a good team, a very good team. Obviously, she won a state championship. when she was growing up and going through the playground balls and AAU and all the other stuff, I watched a lot of girls play basketball. Only one out of all the girls I ever watched, only one I saw was a kid at 10 years old and 9 years old able to do the things that I'm going, that's a special talent right there. That's not just not a kid who is maturing earlier than their peers. That's a special talent. And I'll give you an example. And her name is Kristen Nuss. You're more than welcome. Look her up, Google her name. She won 5 rings at Mount Carmel for volleyball, soccer, and basketball. She graduated with 5 championship rings. Okay.
My son played with one. He played at Riser Junior High, and he went on to play at Sterlington High School, went on to play at Louisiana Tech, went on to play at Grambling. His name is Jeffrey Griffin.
Yeah.
He was one of the most uniquely talented players that I've ever seen in my life. I watched this kid play from formulative stages until he absolutely mastered the game, and it was something. And today, I'm still in touch. I call them my riser boys. It's the kids that were my son's age, and I always attended practice and kept up with these kids. And I can still today, I could as soon as we get off here, I can text him and I say, "Hey man, are you busy?" And I promise you, his response will be, "I'm never too busy for family."
There you go. Well,
and he was amazing.
Kristen was a girl who played at Lakeshore Playground, and I was coaching along with 2 other parents. We were coaching the Little Farms All-Star team, and we were playing at I think it was Girard Playground, maybe not Girard. Cleary. We were playing at Cleary Playground because that was the one. There was no room on the sidelines. You were on top of the bleachers, and that drove me crazy. Well, when we had to play Lakeshore for the championship, I said the only person we had to worry about was Kristen Nuss. So I put my 3 best players. I said, "You're going to bracket this girl, and your job is to make Kristen Nuss pass that ball to somebody else and keep her out of the play. Because if someone's going to beat us, I want it to be any of these other girls. I do not want it to be Kristen." Well,
that's classic Sean Payton. Just like he said about Dallas Clark. Let's not let their best guy beat us.
Right. That's right. Somebody else is going to beat us. So we bracketed her, we trapped her, we did everything we could. I did not know this until we got into the overtime period. I did not know that this girl had stomach flu. We're in a timeout situation. They're holding her hair in a ponytail. And that's just, this girl's 10 years old, holding her hair in a ponytail. She is puking in a garbage can. And I'm like, she's not coming back out of here. Wiped her mouth off, comes back out. We're up by 5 points. Okay. They inbound the pass. Kristen cuts across. She grabs the ball, comes inside. We block. I have 2 tall girls. One of them ended up being her team. Both of them ended up being her teammates at Mount Carmel. Put her arm up to block her. She switches hands, midair jump. 10 years old. Midair jump, switches ball's hands, does a layup. Boom, it's in. Now I'm up by 3. In the last 2 minutes of a game, you can do full court press. They don't want full court press the whole way. So it's now in full court press time. That's when we used to make our jump, because I get my big girls in there to start the press. We got to take the ball away. We do the quick layup. Pass it in to one of my tall girls. Kristen leaves her feet, gets up taller than the tall girls, grabs the ball, one bounce, boom, layup. Up by 1. I'm like, timeout. Okay, this is how we're gonna run a pick screen, get this girl open so we can push this ball down the court. Draw it up, run the pick screen. Now we're going down the court. We get the screen off, throw the ball off. She gets the ball. The very next pass, Kristen jumps that pass, goes down. Now they're up by 1. This is within 30 seconds. She has scored 6 points. We're now down by 1. And that's the kind of player she was. That was what she did in high school. I've never seen a 10-year-old. The most common travel call in playground ball is, okay, a girl's dribbling. She slips on the floor because the floor, we're talking, this is not NBA floors. This is just, regular old, those square tiles from your floors in your high school, in your grade school classrooms we're playing on. Kids slip and slide because they don't, they're not cleaning their feet off and stuff. And when you fall on the ground and try and move to pick up the ball to pass it, they call traveling. This girl had slipped before and kept her dribble going the whole way, so she was never traveling. I'd never seen that in my life. A 10-year-old, so yeah, she ended
Harahan Globetrotters.
Yeah, she ended up playing volleyball for LSU, and she's one of the top volleyball players. And I would not be surprised to see if she wanted to go on to the Olympics and play in the Olympic level in beach volleyball. She's just that good.
The best game that I ever saw Jeffrey play, Reiser played a local competitor here, Westridge, and the final score was I think like 55-26 in favor of Westridge. Jeffrey had he was a running back, he was a kick returner, he was a punt returner. He had 495 yards combined yardage in that one game.
That's amazing. But and
it is.
And that was when we started about, players wanting that fame and stuff first, you run into a child or a kid who has that kind of ability. Okay. Calvin wants to know how old Jeffrey is.
Jeffrey is, I want to say 21, 22. He's the same age as my son. At this point, I think he has given up the football and he's still a student at Grambling. I don't know that to be factual, but he was definitely a talent.
Yeah.
And one of the most humble and grounded young men that I have ever seen in my life.
Kristen was the same way. She's very humble, very, I can do it. But she doesn't brag about it, things like that. And like I was saying, there's only a handful of people in your entire life you get a chance to see who are just that naturally talented. I saw a lot of kids who matured faster, they grew faster, say look better, but then everyone else caught up to them. And two of the girls that Allison played with in high school, one plays for Kansas, the other one plays for Florida State. Those obviously are elite talent girls. And I think one of them will end up playing, at least one of them could end up playing in WNBA if she chooses that. And that's Courtney. I think Courtney can do it because she's a tall girl. She's fast, unbelievable body control. I think she has the ability to play at that next level. But what you see, and I saw it in the playground level, is you see people trying to make this child a star first and then let their athletic ability come second. And I think that's what you saw when I was talking about basketball and a guy like Clowney. They want to get that fame and fortune first and not put the work in and show how much better you are than everyone else second.
Yeah, you want to be a star first and then you want to live up to it. And that's so completely backwards of the way that it should be.
Right.
That's not the way that Jordan did it. That's not the way that Bradshaw did it. That's not the way Staubach did it. That's not the way Dorsett did it. That's
No,
not the way Archie Manning did it.
it's not the way any great player did it. They just did it, and everyone else made. Babe Ruth did it, and then everyone else realized how good of a player he was. That's why I was not upset for us not to get him, because I don't want a mercenary on this team.
How for the New Orleans Saints, how's that turned out in the past?
No,
going back, I would think that probably the last example of that would be Brandon Browner.
Yeah.
How'd that turn out?
I think you pay a guy like Kamara. I like paying the guys who put up the stats. Okay?
That's right. I like paying a guy that came in through the front door and served his time. He showed what he could do, and he's been a part of your organization from word go. Those are the kind of guys that I don't mind paying. Your Camaras, your Thomases, your Lattimores, your Breeze, your DeMario. Well, not DeMario, but
you're gonna have to make a decision on him. But that's why I wasn't really. I know a lot of people got bent out of shape by Jimmy Graham getting paid the way he did, but I didn't have a problem paying Jimmy Graham because he put the numbers up.
But he was an asshole.
But all he did was catch touchdowns. I don't care. You score double-digit touchdowns. You put the yardage up. That's what you pay him for. That's what he's there for.
I love to see the eyebrows meet in the middle with you.
Yeah, but I have a harder time justifying paying someone who does not do what they're supposed to do. That's why I was glad to see the rookie salary cap installed for draft picks, because I had a problem with paying a guy like the number 1 overall pick all this money, and you don't even know if they're going to end up being a good player or not.
Yeah, you're possibly paying your number 1 draft pick more than your most tenured servant on the roster, and there's nothing that's right about that.
Exactly.
Because as we've established over and over and over and over and over, the NFL is different from college football. You don't get paid on what you might do. You don't get paid on potential. You get paid on results.
Oh, each level of sports, going from playground to high school or travel, if you play a sport that does travel ball, to high school, to college, to the pros, each time the pyramid shrinks. There's fewer and fewer people. My daughter didn't play college ball because Jamarcus Russell, because she knew that high school was about as great or as good as she could possibly get. She could work harder and she could do all the practice, which she loved doing, but she wasn't talented enough to play at that next level or justify putting her out on the floor and that next level. I mean, she's going to do everything you ask her to do, and she's going to give 110%, and she is going to not make mistakes, which she's a coach's dream player. But like Coach Williams said, if I could just give you 2 inches of my height, that's all I want out of you, because you do everything I ask you, but you're short, so
that's the same thing that was the same situation with my son. I mean, he played in junior high, and for a 7th and 8th grade team, he started in the 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And he started the following 2 years as well. There was no one that was going to outwork Jonathan by any means. I've seen that kid walk to practice a mile and a half to do two-a-days and come home, be completely dehydrated, and say, "Dad, I got to go," and get up and go back out. And when he got to the University of West Monroe, which I absolutely despise and I would wipe my butt with, but anyway, he got there and he wasn't the prototypical center. He wasn't 6'2", 250 pounds. They just basically used him as a glorified tackling dummy.
Yeah.
And let's see, we're after 9 o'clock, so I can I don't have to paraphrase. He said, "Fuck this, Dad, I'm out. This ain't what I signed up for."
And it just depends on what they want to do. One of my daughter's good friends is a walk-on player at UL, and because they've changed coaching staffs in the 4 years he's been there. The coaching staff that's there now, he wasn't one of their guys, so they don't choose him. And I know exactly how that feels. I mean, you're not the guy they recruited, so hey,
they have no loyalty.
Yeah, they're like, we're not going to do anything with you. You can come out here and practice. Calvin wants to know if you're more of a Neville guy.
Right up to the point when hell freezes over. Hell no.
Oh, so you're a what the hell is the name of that school? Where Booty come from? The college, the high school.
What?
The LSU quarterback, Booty. He came from a high school.
That's Evangel.
Evangel. That's
Shreveport, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the other side.
Yeah. Josh Booty and also Abram Booty, who was a wide receiver.
I couldn't remember the first name. I wanted to say it was Josh, but I said I might be wrong.
Actually, the high school that I graduated from, Crowville High School, Josh Booty's junior year, Crowville played Evangel in the playoffs. Had to go over there and play them, and Crowville could have beat the dog walking shit out of them, and they got off the bus, and you could look in their eyes and see that it wasn't going to happen, and it was like 52-14, the final score. Evangel beat them. I want to say they wound up going on and winning the state title that year, but Josh Booty was an exceptional talent at quarterback. He was very well coached, and he was really good. But by the time he went through the minor league baseball thing and came back to LSU, and he was too old to really be of any interest in the NFL. Now, if he had stayed in football and seen that through, he could have been one of the all-time greats at quarterback. He was really, really that good.
Well, I live down the street from John Curtis, and that's the football factory, and mainly it's a football factory. Oh, it is. That's why
it is.
So many state titles, but they're a K through 12 school. So in sixth grade, these kids are learning the Veer offense. And they're just going to groom those kids. And he does recruit. He goes out there to the playgrounds and recruits the players he can get. By freshman, their freshman team is as experienced in the offense as your senior high school players are. They just don't have the size. And but
see, that's the major. That's what people don't realize. There's a difference in high school. You have one of two directions to go. You're either playing for a team or you're playing for a program. And that program cultivates perpetuation.
But if you follow Curtis players, very rarely do you see a Curtis player become a great college player and then go on and be a great pro player, because it is a program. It's a system, and he dominates because his players had that system beating their heads for 6-7 years, whereas your guys are probably playing in that system for 2 to 3 years. honestly, because you may not, even though you're a talented junior, you may have a senior ahead of you that's still going to get a start over you. You may not jump right in unless you're really special and that much better than the senior ahead of you. So, but with Curtis, it's just they got 100 guys on the sideline and it's a machine. They just keep going. So,
Yeah.
Oh, what's Calvin saying? I don't get anybody in trouble. I personally know for a fact West Monroe recruits. Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah. I played West Monroe is a 5A school. I played at Crowell, which is a 1A school.
Mm-hmm.
And there was 1 year after I graduated that we played a team from Ruston called Cedar Creek. And the quarterback that played for Cedar Creek against Crowell, which both were 1A, the quarterback that played for Cedar Creek against Crowell was next year's starting quarterback for West Monroe.
Well, Avery through
West Monroe has a better recruiting program than the University of Louisiana Monroe right across the bayou.
Well, the funny thing is,
I'm not shit. I'm being honest with you. That is honest to God the truth.
Hey,
it's not nearly as bad now that Don Shows has passed away. God rest his soul. But it's the truth.
Well,
what's lost in all of this to me. There again, as we've stated many times on this program, we came from a different time.
Yeah.
When Alan and I played ball in junior high, middle school, high school, it was a game for kids.
The $6 Million Man was a popular show. When I played junior high and high school, then high school ball, Dukes of Hazzard was a popular show. So
Charlie's Angels
and Family Ties and the Cosby Show and Cheers and Hill Street Blues. When I finished
one night, we're gonna have to do obscure TV shows.
Yeah,
because I got some that I promise you no one has ever heard of. Does anybody remember the show Dreams starring John Stamos?
No, it was
Cricket.
Yeah, he's right. That's Playground. My brother's absolutely right. My brother played high school football. I didn't, but yeah.
Bottom line, back then it was a kids game that kids played, and whatever developed from there developed. But now there's so many parents that see dollar signs, whatever, for their kids in the future. There's too many parents involved in it.
Yeah.
Because they make it something that it was never meant to be. It's a kid's game, and it's not what it was meant to be, in my opinion.
Well, and the thing about it is, and Avery mentioned this earlier, signing day has become such a huge thing. When a player in high school is going to sign with a college, it's such a huge, they have a big media circus about it. They've got all these things going on about it. And you've now elevated high school football is almost as important now as college football is and the draft to go to the next level for NFL football.
And it is. For all practical intents and purposes, it is. LSU has become West Monroe has become a factory to develop players for LSU. LSU has become a factory to develop players for the NFL. And it's the same thing with Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, UCLA, USC, all those teams. It's all about breeding players for the next level.
Right. And as a result, that just encourages recruiting. That encourages getting the best players and coaches to coach the teams. Where look who it is. Look who just popped in.
Who just popped in?
Joey.
Joey, man, it's so good to have you on here, man. I miss you. I love you. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I miss you so much, brother.
I hope all is going well for you, Joey.
I do
really
too.
do.
I love Joey Riolano like a brother. He is absolutely one of the founding fathers of the Under the Dome podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I hope everything is going well for you, Joey, because I do miss you like you would not believe. Okay. So what I was
going to have Joey on.
Oh, we need to get him on one time. I just hope I hope your health is good, Joey. We need to get you on, and when you can come on.
Absolutely.
But what I was saying before, again, that's the hype machine, and that's what all this conversation has been about so far is that players get surrounded. Good, that's great. Players get surrounded by these in this bubble of you were a great player in high school. Everybody loved you in high school. The big fish in the small pond. Now we're going to college. And, you're a great player in college, and you're the big fish in the small pond. Here you go to the NFL, and, you're not the great player we all said you were. You suck. And the guy didn't understand.
What the hell happened?
Yeah. So how did I end up like Ryan Leaf and Jamarcus Russell and Mitch
Poor
Trubisky?
Ryan Leaf, man.
How do I end up like this guy? I was told I was great the whole time. I can't help but turn out like Jeff George and
Jamarcus Russell.
No, what's his name? The guy who doesn't give a damn from the Bears and the Broncos. My favorite player with a sticker in his mouth.
Damn it, Cutler.
Jay Cutler.
Cutler.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's why these guys fail, because they were told you were great and they paved the way for you, and you get to that next level and no, you ain't that great, and they don't understand
what the hell. Everybody lied to me.
Yeah. So all right, since we're over the limit, overtime, let's get back to
it's not actually a minute 20 over. It's actually a minute 17 over.
So yeah. So let's do a predictions for yeah, you're right. Avery said the odds of making the NFL today, 1 in 1 million for high school players.
And I think that would be lowballing it, actually.
Yeah.
Now you have to admit, if you go back to when like Alan and I were in high school in the mid to late 80s.
No, early 80s, high school. I was 81, 85, boy.
Well, 85 is mid, asshole.
Yeah, but I always consider mid to late 80s college years.
Well, okay. Early to mid. We'll put it that way.
There we go.
You go back to then, and the odds were so much more against you, because for you to make the leap from high school to college meant that you had to be at an elite level and an elite program. And nowadays, it's not so much that, because you see so much now about players. The scope has changed so much because you have so many premier college programs now, not just Division I, not just your Nebraskas, your Oklahomas, your LSUs, your Clemsons, and USCs. You see other levels like Mount Union and so on and so forth. You see the scope changing so much, because there's never been more of a chance, in my opinion, there's never been more of a chance for a player to make it from the college level to the pro level, or at least to have the opportunity.
Well, you get there's so much more television exposure than it ever was. I can remember I tell my parents we're going to the De La Salle football game, and we ended up going out or whatever. And so I was trying desperately. There was the day before cell phones and stuff, desperately to find out what the final score of the game was before it was published in the paper, so I could tell my parents, "Oh yeah, I was at the game. Final score was yeah." And you couldn't find that stuff out. You had to know. So I was always, finding a friend who actually went to the game, tell me the final score of the game. So, so that, I mean, that just shows you the difference. Now they got a whole show. Every network, every station in New Orleans does a Friday night football show. And
statewide.
Yeah.
So you hear about Cadwallader High School down there in Cutoff, Louisiana, and you're like, I don't have a rooting interest there.
I never heard of Evangel until the late 80s.
Yeah.
Because
Evangel wasn't really relevant until then.
Yeah.
I want to say probably until Josh Booty came along, they didn't really make their mark. But Josh Booty put them on their map. And then after that came Memory is failing me. But there were a couple of quarterbacks after Josh Booty came along, and they are definitely if I'm not mistaken, they won a state title at every level in Louisiana high school football.
Yeah. And that was just my point. It was when I was in high school, 11 Quad A, the Catholic League, that was the big division. You wanted to play the 11 Quad A teams. And when I was in school, it was Jesuit, Rummel, De La Salle, St. Aug, Brother Martin, and Rummel. And then they threw in Chalmette, so everybody would get at least one win. And oh yeah, I loved playing Chalmette because we always destroyed that team. Our offense was 3 yards in a cloud of confusion. I'm not making that up. Because
we got to give a shout out to St. Aug for our buddy Tyrone Hughes.
Yeah. But we had my brother might remember better than me, but Holy Cross, forgot about Holy Cross. Holy Cross is also in the Catholic League. And there was one other public school in there. There was Chalmette, and there was somebody else. Oh, Abramson. That was the other high school. Abramson doesn't even exist anymore.
Sacrificial Lamb.
But yeah, you had two public schools in there, and they were only in there because of the size, and so we could get some easy wins. It was always the top of the division was always in between Rummel, Jesuit, and St. Aug. Those are the three schools that were gonna be battling out at the end, and we ended up 4-6 almost every year I was there.
I played 3 years at Crowell High School, and in 3 years we won 7 games.
They were small,
but we were in a district where we played and Calvin may get this. He may be the only one. We played against Mangum, Washita Christian, Sterlington, LaSalle, and Sterlington every year. That was our district.
Yep.
And my sophomore year, when we played Mangum, we played them there, and they suited out more guys on the sidelines and on the field than we had in high school. So that gives you an idea of what we were up against.
Hang on, my brother's commenting.
Archbishop Shaw?
Yeah, I forgot about Shaw too. And they sometimes I just put, but they're West Bank. We don't count them. All my friends come from Shaw. I can say this. They were West Bank. True story. Shaw and De La Salle had their senior prom the same night in the same hotel. And I'm walking in, and we were like on the third floor ballroom, and Shaw had the first floor ballroom, or it was third floor and first floor. And I'm walking in with my date, and I open the door, and I said, I want you to shoot everybody, when we get in there. And I walk around, I'm like, I don't know who the hell any of these people are. Where the hell are all the people? I was in Shaw's prom, and I walk out and they're like, "Whose prom is it?" They're like, "This is Shaw's. De La Salle's upstairs." Oh, I got you. So I go up there and they said it's been happening all night. The wrong people going to the wrong prom. And the funny thing is, 3 guys ended up being great friends with, or actually 5 guys ended up being great friends with, were all at that Shaw prom. I just didn't know them at the time, so it was funny because yeah, it was the Catholic League.
We did play Gilbert. It wasn't a district game, but Gilbert was a definite grudge match. As a matter of fact, my senior year we played Gilbert twice. Once in Jamboree, and we beat them 8-6. And the last game of the season, the last game that I played in high school, was against Gilbert, and we beat them 15-14 with 30 seconds left on the clock. I caught the 2-point conversion for the win.
Yep. There you go. Okay, so
what did he say?
Windsor.
Wisner, yes. Battle of the Bulldogs, Crowell Bulldogs, Wisner Bulldogs. We played them every year. I never saw that damn Bulldog, actually. They beat us every year.
The only rivalry game we had was Jesuit against Jesuit against De La Salle. And Brother Richard, our principal, Brother Richard said, if we beat Jesuit, we don't have to go to school on Monday. So of the 5 years I was there for 8th grade, the 5 years I was at De La Salle, we beat Jesuit one time. And sure enough, we didn't have to go to school on Monday. And these people are like, what the hell? You're what your Al Bundy game, John Butler. He's trying to spell Bundy. He spelled bunt like the cake, and Bundy. Yeah.
Oh, he corrected it.
His Uncle Rico game. That's his Uncle Rico game.
Bless his heart.
But yeah, I mean, and the Jesuit people were furious because we won. We act like we won the state championship. We're like, yeah, it was my junior year. We didn't have to go to school on Monday, and sure enough, school was closed on Monday. That was
the last time that I played against Wisner. The only thing that I remember was returning the kick. And I wound up with my jaw broken in 3 places and a concussion.
No. So you don't remember much of that game then, do you?
No, it was not pretty. I woke up the next morning, and my parents just happened to be out of town that weekend. So my brother came up there and picked me up after the game and took me home, and I woke up the next morning and I had blood like all down me, and it wasn't pretty.
Well,
that's the other side of high school football for you guys that are uninitiated.
Yep. And we played every game, I think, either at Tag Gormley Stadium or Pan Am Stadium, which Pan Am today is so much nicer than the Pan Am when I was in high school, because Pan Am was like, I don't know, like a war had been fought the night before in that stadium. That field was torn to hell. The stadium was rickety. It was a funky ass stadium. But anyway,
I still drive to Crowell from time to time, and just for the hell of it, I drive by that football field, and when I was a senior, I realized early on that probably my football career was going to be over with that last game. And it just so happened that the last game was going to be at home. And I caught, as I said, I caught the winning pass, the 2-point conversion in the end zone. And I'll pull up there and I'll park and walk up to the fence and I'll sit there and look at the spot where I caught that pass, and still makes me cry.
Well, they're asking us predictions, and I think, if it rained, it was a mud bowl game from Pan Am. You would like to get your car out. You didn't want to park in the parking lot if it rained because, you weren't getting your car out even with 4-wheel drive. The ground.
We played in the doghouse.
Yeah. Okay, so predictions for Sunday's game. I'm going to say, and I'm terrible at these things.
I'm glad you're going first.
I was like Charles Barkley. I'm terrible. I'm going to say 34-31 Saints. It's just one of those kind of games where it's going to be back and forth for a little while. I think the Saints will jump out ahead in either in the second or the third quarter, and then we got to sweat out the fourth quarter. But I think it's 34-31. Calvin says, don't see Tampa scoring 20 points, 34-13. Brady can even die. Yeah. There you go. How about you, Sean?
Man, it's so hard to gauge these things. Sunday, for not just the Saints and the Buccaneers, but for every team across the league, it's going to be so much of an unproven commodity. It's going to be difficult. I want to say that the Saints prevail, 35-31, 34-31, something along that line.
To me, here we go. Super Bowl score 31-17. If the Saints, if this was a regular season,
let's just clear week 1 first.
Yeah. If this was a regular season with a home opener and the crowd in the stadium, like in our background here, and it's loud and rowdy, I'd say the Saints have a much better chance of beating Tampa
absolutely
by double digits. But playing basically in a practice with simulated noise.
You're looking at a controlled scrimmage.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's heard the 70 decibel level sound that we're allowed to do. And, it sounds like crap. It really does. It sounds like there's nobody there. I'll give you an indication. We have a decibel level. When I go into the stadium, they have a decibel level that comes up when they tell people to get loud. And the dome starts at 100. And it's typically around 130 to 140 when it's third down or an important down. And it's just 70 decibel, not getting loud. I agree, Calvin, and I agree, Avery. The secondary is not very good. I think we had the potential to beat them soundly. I think their offensive line is not very good, especially for a non-mobile quarterback. I just don't know how good of a tackling team we're going to be, and I don't know how cleanly we're going to execute on offense. And
exactly. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that New Orleans is going to go out there and just absolutely acerate the Buccaneers. I'm not going to say that. Sunday,
I would like to humiliate Brady in week 1.
I would too.
And make him question why he left New England, and make everyone say, and Cam Newton was named
everyone else question why he left New England.
Well, and Cam Newton was named the starter over there in New England, which says a lot about that kid Stidman, who was supposed to be the player, the heir apparent, which also all you guys that worry about the heir apparent for Drew Brees realize that here's Bill Belichick, and everyone expected the heir apparent to be Stidman, and it ended up being Cam Newton. We don't know what the heir apparent's going to be like over here. It's just what happened?
I just had a Belichick moment. I'm sorry.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, it's. I think that's the league's mandate, 70 decibels, and yeah, I think you should be able to turn it up as loud as you freaking want. And I want to play.
Atlanta does.
I don't want to just play. I don't want to just play like the hip hop music or whatever sound in there. I want to play like freaking death metal.
That's right.
I just hear that just be the players looking around. What the hell am I in? Baby. Just that would be entertaining to listen to. That Brady trying to call out a play while death metal is screaming through the speakers. That would be entertaining to hear. Because that's closer to what the Saints sound noise is like.
Yeah, I mean that's the Saints fan base.
Well, I've talked about this in the past. The unique thing about the Superdome is because it was built, so long ago. 35 years ago now? 45 years ago? Yeah, 75 it opened. 75. Yep. So yeah, 45 years ago. It was built as a multi-purpose stadium.
Jesus, we're fucking old.
I know. The seats are closer to the field than they are in a typical stadium today. And the structure, the way the dome is built, the sound goes up to the roof and then circulates right back down to the field. So, they're getting the echo, and it's all metal. So it just curves right back into itself. And so you're getting that sound swirling on the field. It makes it that much louder. And yeah, Joey, I'd pay to hear that. I would too. But
I have been there. The first, the last Saints game that I ever went to, I was on the lowest, the field level. And I had a seat in the handicap section with a monitor up here. And I'm sorry, Joey, but it just happened to be against the Carolina Panthers, and we absolutely skull drugged them. And I can't tell you, just that was the night that the Superdome set the indoor noise level, Guinness Book of World Records, whatever. I was there for that.
Well, and that, one of the things I was saying about, the dome and stuff, I equate the noise and stuff to almost being like in the, the Colosseum of the old Roman Empire when the gladiators are fighting. And when we make a big play on defense, like an interception or a sack, it's
Cam Jordan sack.
It's almost like the kill in a gladiator, in the Coliseum, in a gladiator. I mean, the crowd just, people just screaming and losing their mind. It's amazing. And
that night that I had those seats, the game that I was just talking about, Cam Jordan sacked Cam Newton.
Joey, Saints have hammered the Panthers more than once. Yeah, we did it last year.
That night
in Carolina.
That night that I had those seats, Jordan sacked Cam. I don't know how many times, but the last time that he did, I turned and looked at my wife and I said, "That's awesome." She said, "What?" I said, "That is awesome." She said, "What?" I said, "That's awesome." It was that loud in there.
My brother, you like gladiator movies? You ever been in a Turkish prison? Joey, you ever seen a grown man naked? Yeah.
We
I
have
could
just
quote.
crossed the threshold
I could
into
quote.
not
I could
prime
quote.
time.
I can quote airplane lines all day long. Um, and it. And the other thing that's fun to hear in the dome, and everyone should at least experience this once, is the flea flicker play when Breeze cocks and loads the gun to throw the deep pass. The crowd's expectations as the ball leaves his hands, and as the ball is traveling to the receiver, you can hear the roar start to build up until he catches the ball, and it's a lot of fun to hear that because I was like, especially if the guy's wide open. If the guy is wide open, like they just re-showed locally the New England 2009 game when Devery Henderson gets the ball wide.
He gone.
That roar of that ball and the expectations to catch it and make the touchdown. It's so much fun. And you can see because the fans sit so close now, thanks to high definition television, you can see the fans like in the end zone going, come on in, you got it, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I'll tell us one last story, then we got to go. The Who Dat chant. I was at the 2011 Saints Giants game. I got invited by one of my high school friends, and we're sitting up in where he sits up in the end zone in a terrace level, but not quite the nosebleed, but like about the middle. So we're around some Giants fans. And the two Giants fans, we had fun with them the whole night because, when they finally scored after we're up by so many points, you're like, it's not over yet. It's not over yet. We're like, no, it's over. It's over, and they knew. But they, we bought them beer. We bought them a beer and stuff like that. And they were great guys. But when we did the Who Dat chant, Leslie Nielsen was great. Absolutely. That's everybody was great in that movie Airplane. But anyway, when we did the Who Dat chant, that was the first time those guys ever heard anything like that. And they're like, I don't know what the hell y'all just said, but that was awesome.
I've been to a game in Jerry World. That's probably the only road game that I've been to for the Saints, but there is absolutely nothing that I have ever seen or witnessed to even come close to the game day atmosphere in the Superdome.
Yeah, Jerry World, that's a stadium where you are going to be seen there. You're not actually going there to watch a football game. In fact, they said one of the biggest problems with those big screens is you end up watching that like you paid all this money to watch it on TV. You're watching the screen rather than watch the field. And, it's people are there to socialize and, there's a football game going on. And so many rival fans come in because it's such a grandiose stadium that it becomes, it's almost like it's a home game for the road team. It's one of those things. I don't hear a bunch of cowgirls again.
Ain't my cowgirls.
Which game did you go to? Because Avery was at the Thanksgiving Day 2010. Whew, I
was at the
anymore.
The last year Graham was with the Saints. I was there for I want to say it was a Sunday night game. I was there when
that was 2013. That might have been 2013. Did we lose?
Yes, when Graham was the last game. Graham, okay, and 2012 in late December, Saints won in overtime. Garrett Hartley kicked a field goal in overtime to win.
Okay,
I was there for both of those.
Okay, well, the 2010 game. I like watching the Saints play on Thanksgiving Day or Thanksgiving night, but I really it's not a good game, not a good day for me to watch a Saints game because I get too emotional. Big surprise for these games, and
Oh no, you're making that up.
and I was pretty pissed off until Malcolm Jenkins stripped the ball in 2010 against the Cowboys because I thought it was bullshit the way we were going to lose this game to friggin' John Kittner, you know, and so it was that me. Yeah. Oh, great. Cheerleaders dancing in cages, and they're upset about the Redskins. Thanks, Joey. Thanks, Joey, for joining us, and good luck to you guys on Sunday too.
Joey, man, I wish you guys the best, and for you personally, hope you're doing great. You are absolutely one of my inspirational guides, man.
No, we don't, Calvin. We don't play on Thanksgiving for the first time this year. We played 2010, and then we played back-to-back 2018, 2019 on Thanksgiving night against the Falcons, one at home, one on the road. And the one on the road, I was losing my freaking mind with the onside kicks. You know, after the stiff arm and all the other stuff that was going on, then we can't cover an onside kick. You know, I was really losing. My wife thought she's going to take me to the hospital because I was screaming so much. But yeah, we don't play on Thanksgiving.
Thought you had Tourette's, didn't she?
Oh man, we play Atlanta that Sunday, and then we play at Denver the 29th. So we don't play that thing. But yeah. But anyway, yeah, we play on Christmas Day this year, though. We do play on Christmas Day because this is an argument I had with somebody. That reminds me. I had an argument with somebody about this. They couldn't understand why we played on Christmas Day but not Christmas Eve because we play on Friday night, which is normally a Thursday night game, but they're moving it to Friday night because they don't want to play a game Christmas Eve. And he's like, I don't understand why they do it. I'm like, duh, Santa Claus, you know. Yeah, you can't have these guys. You're at the game and everything else like that, coming home Christmas Eve. So, and the guy's like, oh, well, I don't. I'm like, that's why we're playing Christmas night instead. We play that Friday night. We host the Vikings that Friday night.
You do all your Santa Claus and all that, and then we get on to business.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, you can't play Christmas Eve. They don't play games on Christmas Eve. They'll play Christmas Eve during the day, but no night games Christmas Eve. Just is not going to happen. You can't do that.
That pisses Santa Claus off.
Yeah, Santa Claus does not want to come back from the game and then having to put together a friggin' big wheel. Especially if the Saints lost. You don't want to put together the big wheel.
You know, for two guys that have absolutely nothing to fucking talk about, we managed to string together 2-hour shows.
I know. We're not very good about we got in the whole thing of high school football. We're not very good about staying on task. Thank you guys for sticking with us.
We're on task, but I mean, it's much like the NFL. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Right. Yeah. Just don't punch a hole in the wall. I'm not the one that does that. It's my brother you have to talk to about that. I think you're right, Avery. I don't think we played since 2010, or they've had a game since 2010. The last game that we played on Christmas Eve was actually Jake Delhomme win against the Dallas Cowboys back in 1999. That was the last time I think we played on Christmas Eve. So,
damn.
Yeah, long time ago. Thank you guys for joining us. Next week we talk about how they played the first Saints game that we're going to talk about since
how we spanked Tom Brady's ass.
There you go. Since January. So this is going to be fun. It's just going to be a different kind of ball game. Thomas Moore said for everyone to yell through their TV. I'm like, I do that already. I wish more pain and death on players than probably a normal person should ever wish. I talk about breaking bones and, I'll pay your fine. Just take this bastard out.
I bet you probably question their heritage too, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Any player I don't like, their mother and father were never married because that's what they are. I wanted bounties on George Kittle. I wanted bounties on the Rams quarterback. I just thought not Goff. I've wanted bounties on Calvin Ridley. I mean, I just go down the list. If you start doing stuff against the Saints, I have a bounty on you. Kill that man.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're either part of the problem or part of the solution.
Right. And my thing is, if you take that dude out and you put the fear of God into him and throw his bloody body at the other team and say, the next bastard that comes out here, it's going to end up being the same thing to you, then they kind of get the hint, maybe I shouldn't play this team, because they're crazy, so I want Cam Jordan to beat Tom Brady with his left tackle, just like he did against Detroit. You push the tackle into Brady. So that's the kind of stuff I want to see. Beat that man with his own player. Pick him up.
I want to see Tom Brady welcomed into the NFC South in the appropriate manner.
You ain't
bounce his ass off that Superdome floor.
You ain't playing Buffalo, Miami, and the Jets anymore.
That's right.
You're playing in the big boy league, So that's that.
I've said for years that if Tom Brady was in the NFC South, he would be just another quarterback. It's time to put that to the test.
That's it. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us. You're getting a brief idea of what it's like to watch a game. I'm not like this in the stadium, but I'm like this at home, believe me. You get a brief taste of what it's like to watch a game with me when we're losing. When we're winning, I'm a hell of a lot of fun. I crack all kinds of jokes. When we're losing, I've got
it's not as much fun.
No, I just have my creative vocabulary going. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.
Love you guys.